Have you ever been talking to an AI and felt a flicker of weird, unsettling familiarity? You ask a question, and the answer comes back, not just with the right info, but in a way that sounds uncannily like you. The phrasing, the word choice, maybe even a trace of your specific brand of humor. You shake it off. It's just a machine, a bunch of code, a coincidence. But the feeling sticks around. It's starting to sound like you. Well, you're not imagining it. And the reason why is more complex and fascinating than you might think. What if I told you that behind the curtain of code, some of the most advanced AI systems are being taught not just to understand what you say, but who you are? They're learning to become personality detectives. And one of their most important tools is something you might have taken for fun online. A tool defined by just 4 letters. MBTI. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on how AI is being trained to detect your specific Myers-Briggs personality type and, in some cases, mimic your unique style of communication. We'll explore the science, the data, and the research that's turning our AI assistants from robotic servants into personalized digital mirrors. By the end, you'll understand that the next time an AI sounds familiar, it might not be a coincidence. It might be by design. Let's start with something we've all probably felt. Think about the first time you used a major AI chatbot. The magic is real. Ask it to write a poem, explain quantum physics, or plan your trip to Italy. It has all of human knowledge at its fingertips. But once the novelty fades, you notice a kind of hollowness. The conversation feels sterile. Your friends have distinct voices. One is direct and blunt. Another is a storyteller. A third is empathetic, always checking in. They have personality. Your AI, for the most part, doesn't. It defaults to a persona of polite, formal, helpful neutrality. It's the world's most knowledgeable but least interesting person. This is the uncanny valley of AI conversation. It's so close to human, but the lack of genuine personality makes it feel alien, and that's a huge problem for the people building our digital future. If AI is going to be a real part of our lives, as a companion, a tutor, or a creative partner, it can't feel like a walking encyclopedia. We're social creatures who connect through personality and emotion. We don't just want an AI that can follow commands. We want an AI that can vibe with us. For years, developers tried to solve this persona problem by hand. They'd program an AI to be witty by feeding it pre-written jokes, or friendly with lots of exclamation points. But that's a shallow fix. The mask slips the second you go off script. The AI isn't actually witty, it's just repeating a joke. So, how do you give an AI a soul? Developers realized they couldn't just write the personality themselves. They had to teach the AI to learn it. And to do that, they turned to a framework that has spent nearly a century trying to map the human psyche. That tool is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or MBTI. Even if you've never taken the test, you've seen its 4-letter codes everywhere. INTJ, INFJ, ENTP, ISTP, ESFJ. It's a fixture of online culture and corporate HR. But to see why it's so valuable for AI, we have to know what it actually is. The MBTI wasn't born in a lab. It was developed during World War II by a mother-daughter team, Catherine Cook Briggs and Isabel Myers. They were inspired by the Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung and his theories on psychological types. They believed if people understood each other's personalities better, it could reduce conflict. After decades of work, the official questionnaire was finally published in 1962. The framework is built on 4 key pairs of preferences, which combine to create 16 distinct personality types. First up, introversion I. versus extroversion, E. This isn't about being shy or outgoing. It's about where you get your energy. Extroverts are charged up by the outer world of people and action. Introverts recharge in their inner world of ideas and reflection. Next, we've got sensing, S, versus intuition, N. This is about how you take in information. Sensors are concrete and practical, focused on the here and now. Intuitives are drawn to patterns and possibilities, always reading between the lines. Third is thinking, T, versus feeling, F, which describes how you make decisions. Thinkers prioritize logic and objective principles. Feelers prioritize empathy, harmony, and the human impact. And finally, judging, J, versus perceiving, P. This is about your approach to the outside world. Judgers prefer structure, plans, and getting things decided. Perceivers prefer flexibility, spontaneity, and keeping their options open. You take one preference from each pair, and you get your four-letter type, like an INTJ, the mastermind, or an ESFP, the entertainer. Each of the 16 types comes with a detailed description of its communication style and worldview. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room. In academic psychology, the MBTI has plenty of critics. Many researchers argue it isn't as statistically reliable as other models, like the Big Five, because it sorts people into boxes instead of measuring traits on a spectrum. And those critics have a point. It's also worth pointing out that the MBTI is a personality framework, not a clinical diagnostic tool, and it cannot identify mental health conditions. But here's the twist. For an AI developer, whether the MBTI is perfect science is less important than two other things: its structure and its massive popularity. Think about it. The MBTI gives you 16 clearly defined archetypes, each with tons of descriptive data. More importantly, because it's so popular, people have spent decades online proudly announcing their type on forums, blogs, and Reddit. They write thousands of words about their lives, thoughts, and feelings, all while self-identifying with a four-letter code. For an AI, this is an absolute goldmine. It's a giant human-labeled dataset connecting specific language patterns to specific personality profiles. You have these incredibly powerful new AI models that can find patterns in trillions of words, and you have this huge library of human expression, all neatly sorted by personality. The next step was obvious: putting them together. Training an AI to be a personality detective is a bit like teaching a brilliant but clueless student how to read people, not by talking to them, but by analyzing their writing. The first step is gathering the data. The models are fed mind-boggling amounts of text from the internet, specifically from places where personality is the main topic. Think of forums like Personality Cafe or Reddit communities like r/MBTI, where users often have their MBTI type right next to their username as flair. This means every comment is a perfectly labeled data point. The AI can read a post about struggling with procrastination and see it was written by an INTP. It can analyze a description of a sunset and see it came from an ISFP. Imagine giving a detective 1,000,000 case files. Each file has a long testimony from a witness, and the cover tells you the witness's personality type. The detective's job is to read the testimony and learn the subtle language patterns that match the label. After 1,000,000 files, they'd get pretty good at guessing a new witness's type just from their words. That's exactly what the AI is trained to do. The next step is teaching the AI what to look for. Using techniques from natural language processing, NLP, the AI breaks down text to find the linguistic fingerprints of personality. For example, systems can be trained to look for general patterns. For introversion versus extroversion, the AI might notice that introverts tend to use more I, me, and my. while extroverts use more we, us, and our, and talk more about social events. For sensing versus intuition, it's about abstraction. A sensing type's writing is often full of concrete sensory details, the heavy wooden table. An intuitive's writing is more abstract, filled with metaphors and words about possibilities, like concept, theory, or potential. For thinking versus feeling, the AI hunts for decision-making markers. A thinker's language might be more detached, using words like analyze and logic. A feeler's language is often full of emotion words and personal conviction, like I feel and it's wonderful. And for judging versus perceiving, the AI looks for clues about structure. Judging types often use words related to plans and closure, like I decided or the schedule is. Perceiving types use language that reflects flexibility, with words like maybe, explore, and options. Finally, you bring in the large language models themselves, like Google's and OpenAI's models. You take a powerful model that already understands language and fine-tune it on this new task. You show it millions of examples of text, saying, "This was written by an INTP. Now figure out why it sounds like an INTP." And the latest research is exploring even more nuanced ways to do this. One fascinating framework being studied is called Proto-MBTI. Instead of just matching words, this approach tries to build an ideal prototype of each of the 16 styles. When the AI gets new text, it compares it to all 16 prototypes to find the closest match. So let's pause. The AI can now act as a personality detective. With a startling degree of accuracy, it can read what you write and make a very educated guess at your 4 letters. That's already impressive and a little creepy. But detection is only half the story. The real revolution begins when the AI starts using that information to talk back to you. The ability to detect personality is a game changer, but the ability to emulate it is the holy grail. This is where the tech moves from reading you to reflecting you. And there are a few key methods researchers are exploring to make this happen. One of the most powerful ideas in AI research is something called persona vectors or steering. Think of a sound mixing board. A producer can turn up the bass or add reverb to the vocals. Engineers are building similar mixing boards for personality, but with sliders for introversion, extroversion, or thinking feeling. The theory goes like this. An AI detects you're an ENFP. An automated system then turns up the dials for extroversion, intuition, and feeling. This steers the AI's response to be more enthusiastic, metaphorical, and empathetic. If the next user is a stoic ISTJ, the system adjusts the dials, and the response instantly becomes more reserved, factual, and logical. While this isn't a standard feature in the AI on your phone today, the concepts are being actively explored in research labs. Another approach being tested is less like steering and more like method acting. You can fine-tune a model to not just recognize an INFJ, but to be one. You do this by continuing its training exclusively on a massive dataset of text written only by INFJ. After being immersed in millions of their words, the AI's linguistic output starts to naturally match the INFJ communication style. It has, for all intents and purposes, learned to write like one. This is where we move from what's being tested now to what researchers are dreaming up for the future. Dynamic personality generation. This isn't about adopting one persona, but about the AI subtly adjusting its personality within a single conversation. Imagine you start a chat by asking for hard data. The AI would detect this and dial up its thinking trait. A minute later, you express anxiety. The AI would detect that shift and fluidly dial up its feeling trait, responding with more empathy. We've already seen the seeds of this in famous research projects. A study from Stanford and Google created a virtual town called Smallville, populated by 25 AI agents given simple personas. From that starting point, the agents lived their own lives, formed relationships, and initiated activities, all consistent with their assigned personalities. The research proves that AI can maintain a persona. The next logical leap researchers are trying to make is to base that persona on you. This is a massive leap from the robotic assistants we're used to. The idea of an AI that understands your style is fascinating, and let's be honest, a little unsettling. If you're finding this deep dive valuable, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel bring more content like this to you. And I'm genuinely curious, so drop your MBTI type in the comments below if you know it and want to share. I'd love to see the personality mix we have here. So we've covered the what and the how. But why? Why are huge tech companies pouring resources into making AI a personality chameleon? Because they believe it's the key to the next generation of human-computer interaction. The most obvious payoff? Hyper-personalization. Imagine an AI assistant that knows as a judging type, you want your info in neat bullet points, but as a perceiving type, you'd rather brainstorm possibilities. It learns that as a feeling type, you respond better to encouragement, while as a thinking type, you just want the unvarnished truth. This would make technology feel less like a tool you're fighting and more like an extension of your own mind. The potential for mental health and coaching is profound. It's hard to build rapport with a generic chatbot, but an AI that mirrors an introverted user's reflective pace or matches an extroverted user's energy could be revolutionary. For someone who feels misunderstood, an AI that communicates in their language could be an incredibly powerful tool. This flows right into customer service. We've all been stuck in a loop with a support bot that doesn't get our frustration. Now imagine a bot that detects the direct language of a thinking type and gives them direct solutions. Or it could recognize the distressed language of a feeling type and respond with empathy. I understand this must be frustrating. Let's solve this together. And of course, there's marketing. Companies could use this to tailor ads and websites to specific MBTI segments. An ad for sensing types might be filled with concrete specs, while an ad for intuitive types might focus on the future vision the product enables. It's about speaking the native language of your customer's personality. The benefits seem clear. A future where technology is more seamless, effective, and empathetic. But every powerful technology casts a long shadow. And when that technology is designed to get to the core of who you are, we have to ask some very difficult questions. The idea of a perfectly personalized AI is appealing, but the road there is paved with ethical landmines. First up, and it's a big one, is privacy. We're talking about an AI that reads your private conversations and builds a psychological profile of you. Did you consent to that? Do you want a corporation to have a file that says you're an INFP, prone to idealism? Your personality is arguably your most intimate data. The idea of it being inferred and used without your full knowledge is a privacy nightmare. This leads right to the risk of manipulation. The line between personalization and manipulation is razor thin. An AI that knows your personality also knows your psychological soft spots. If it knows you're a feeling type, it could use emotionally charged language to persuade you to buy something you don't need. If it knows you're a perceiving type who struggles with decisions, it could create false urgency to push you into a purchase. This isn't just marketing. It's psychological exploitation at a massive scale. Then there's the problem of bias and stereotypes. The internet is filled with caricatures of the 16 MBTI types. An AI trained on that data could easily reinforce them. It might treat someone it mislabels as a thinking type with coldness, or oversimplify an introvert's inner world? And what happens if the AI just gets it wrong? It could interact with you in a way that's completely grating, all while thinking it's being personalized. You're being actively put in a box you don't belong in. Finally, this all raises a deep question about authenticity. If an AI can perfectly mimic empathy, is that genuine connection, or is it a hollow copy? As we get used to perfect, tailored empathy from a machine, will we become less patient with the messy, imperfect, but real empathy from the humans in our lives? So, that strange feeling of familiarity with an AI? It's not a ghost in the machine. It's the result of a deliberate effort at the forefront of technology, combining a century-old personality framework with planet-sized datasets and incredibly powerful AI. But let's be clear. We are at the very beginning of this journey. The AI on your computer today is likely still more generic than it is a mirror of you. Much of what we've discussed, the real-time steering, the dynamic generation, is still in the research and development phase, not a standard feature in the products we use every day. But the technology is proven, and the pace of development is staggering. The groundwork is being laid. So deployment feels like a question of when, not if. The question is no longer if our AI assistants will develop personality, but whose personality they will develop. Will we interact with branded personas designed by corporations? Or will we find ourselves, for better and for worse, talking to a digital reflection of ourselves? We are building the mirrors. Now we have to decide what we want them to show us. What do you think? Is this kind of personalized AI the ultimate tool for connection, or a step down a dangerous path? I really want to know your take. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve on how AI is changing everything, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on. You won't want to miss what's next. Thanks for watching.